Would you like to reduce your net fleet fuel spend by 10 to 23%? Could you use that money in other areas in your company while reducing your carbon footprint at the same time? Click the link below and learn more. Hey everybody, welcome back to Freight Executive Insights. I'm Michael Vincent. He is Albert Luna, and he is VP at Sky Transportation. And you guys, southern U.S. border, right? So are you in El Paso?
We are in El Paso, yes, sir. Yeah, so we're headquartered in El Paso. We also got some locations in Laredo, Memphis, Albuquerque, Dallas, kind of everywhere in that south corridor.
Oh, really? So you're hitting Dallas and Memphis. Are you doing rail as well? Is that why Memphis or?
A little bit, not really as much, but Memphis has just been a big hub for a lot of our key customers for whatever reason. I don't know if it goes rail sometimes after that, but there's really not like a big rail from El Paso to Memphis, so to say.
Yeah, no, I didn't think there was, but I'm thinking, why is Memphis a key for you? It's just to hit that Midwest and the population up there, I guess, huh?
Correct. Yep. Yeah. The gateway to the way St. Louis is a gateway to the west. This is a gateway to the east. I kind of like to.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because there's 70% of the population is east of Memphis, anyways, right? So that it's a perfect shot. It's unbelievable. So let's talk a little bit about Sky Transportation. What do you guys do there? I mean, I'm guessing cross-border, you're handling cross-border. Do you actually go cross-border? Are you taking it after the handoff back into the U.S.? Or plug us. What is Sky Transportation? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, we do cradle to grave, right? And I can kind of talk about some of our additional capabilities that we now have in this last year. But, Sky itself, anything under the Sky banner, we've been doing cross-border now for 24 years, so our trucks will literally go across into Mexico with our trailers, or sometimes we use partner EPA-certified Mexican carriers. We go as far really into Mexico as you can think, right? Especially from that Laredo area. We've done stuff in the Mexico City area, out of the El Paso area. We've done all the way down to like Chihuahua City, and then, in like Nogales, Arizona crossing, it would be there at Hermosillo, Tijuana for the San Diego crossing as well. So we do really a lot of that door-to-door service, and that's kind of what we've, cut our teeth on these last, 2 decades. My father started the company 24 years ago, and so so kind of one of 3 second generations that help run the day-to-day where we can, and I do a lot more on the sales side, everything like that. So. Yeah, it's been
You didn't have a chance growing up. You were getting into trucking. It was trucking all the way.
Yeah, the fourth sibling in our family was always the company, right? So it's always like you either hate them or love them, right? Just like any other sibling. Right. So, yeah, it was fun. Obviously, growing up, I mean, one of my first, memories really is just the day that my dad bought his first truck, right? And I think I was, might have been 5 or 6 or something like that. And it's just, to me, coolest thing ever. But yeah, just, obviously it's taken a while.
So did you grow up in the El Paso area? Is that where everything grew up with your dad and his first truck and everything?
Sure. Yeah. My father was actually originally in retail sales. There's stores, Toys R Us that have now closed down. But
I remember them though.
Worked there as a regional manager for at least a decade. And for whatever reason, he just always had a fascination with trucks, whether it be, I think it's like his 6th birthday party. There's like a cake that I see, or an old picture of a cake that was made, and it's a semi truck. I mean, like who thinks of that stuff, at like 6 years old?
Maybe he just was a kid, 6-year-old who loved trucks, right? I mean, it's, kids just love things, right? I mean, my daughter, when she was 6, wanted to be a bus driver. That was her aspiration in life. Now she wants to be a ballerina. But.
Okay, well that's good. Hopefully it switched a little bit, but yeah. So really, it just was something that my dad had in mind. He always wanted to be in the trucking industry for whatever reason, and saved up enough to get and he didn't want to go, I guess you could say the traditional route, starting with like a used truck and everything. He wanted to go get a brand spanking new, long hood truck.
Yeah.
So goes and gets
what a big rubber duck. He was watching Convoy and stuff, right?
Exactly. So he buys it. By the time he gets his authority and everything like that, starts the business at that point with his own authority. And a couple months after that, 9/11 hits, and the whole freight market just took a turn really.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, definitely was not in the best of positions there. I think at one point went and asked for his old job back. They said no, not anymore. And
Mm, mm,
this
mm.
thing full time. And so for whatever reason, just continue to grow. Grew it from that one truck, went to two the following year, 5, 10, 40. Had some big jumps these last couple decades. So now we're at about 250 trucks, more or less. Uh,
Wow. And so how deep into the US do you guys go? And I mean, I know you got your Memphis and stuff like that. So you're going all over the nation and then south into Mexico on your own
assets.
assets.
Yeah, yeah,
And
we do all 48, right? I mean, I know that's like a
right.
very
Okay, I got you.
thing to say, but we have some of our larger corridors are along that I-10, I-20, I-40. We'll go up into the Northeast pretty often, Indiana
Yeah.
area, Ohio.
Is it
Um,
all just dry van? Are you doing reefer or flatbed or anything like that? Or
well, now that's something that we are actually, able to offer, which is really nice, and that's really I guess the second part and the most current part of the story. We were actually fully acquired a year ago now by a company called Warehouse Services Inc. Uh, under the larger group of the Cox Group. So WSI, they have about 22 million square feet of warehousing across 18 U.S. states, two Canadian provinces. They're on the border now in Mexico with us. And all in all, if you include our assets as well, the trucking component is close to about 1,000 trucks, about 6,000. Yeah, and so of those 6,000 trailers, we're not all consolidated under one SCAC or DOT or anything like that. But what we have done is, just made it more accessible for customers to be able to, I guess, get the power that we have and shift it to wherever they might need. So we've seen that where we've relocated, of those all those trailers, right? They have dry vans, but they also do have some reefer units. They have flatbed units. We're really a pretty large player in the bulk industry. So whether it's dry bulk or liquid bulk, we do that. We do some LTL consolidation, a bunch of driver assist stuff. So we're pretty well diversified in that sense. And so, yeah, even though I don't have a trailer right now that has Sky logos, that's a reefer. I could get it down here and put it in service in the next couple days if the business presented itself. So those are my assets. I can use them whenever I want.
gotcha. So I mean, you're pretty much you got full service. You're doing what people want, right? I mean, that's fantastic stuff. That is really cool. So, uh, what's going on at the border, man, right now? I mean, it is blowing up. I mean, you talked about 9/11 and what your father went through, right? So you've been in the business now, but through the latest Black Swan event, which was a huge Black Swan event with obviously the COVID, but then afterwards, all the reshoring or nearshoring and that type of stuff, and switching to Mexico and coming into the United States. El Paso or Laredo is now like the largest port in the United States, or getting there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be in the northern part of the world or northern or North America, not including sea, right? So, yeah, it's ginormous. You also see the same thing. Like Laredo, honestly, is you drive down there and it's essentially one big truck stop in a sense. It's like you can't escape them, which is good for us, right? But yeah, there's just so much that's been. It's a very I guess new term that somewhat has been overused at points, but near shoring, right? And that whole like
Yeah, yeah. Other than China shoring, I think is really what it's called. Should be called, right?
other than China shoring, exactly. So yeah, I mean we've seen that with some customers. You've seen a lot in not only the auto manufacturing, some of the new plants that are going up in South America or in North America and Mexico. I mean they're just direct competition to those China plants that eventually would, I think, get shut down. Obviously, the tariffs, I believe, right now are last I checked, I think it was like 25% coming in from China versus Mexico. You're looking at like way less than half of that. So um, I think that will continue to be something where you just have these companies that are just really flooding the market. to where a lot of these places don't even have the infrastructure. I know I've been down in Monterey, and it's just like it seems. Talking to people, it seems like they're literally running out of space at times to build. And
Yeah.
it creates a lot of issues in that. But man, overall, just like from a volume standpoint, I, we really, thankfully didn't really see any sort of dip in 2020 or even when rates went super high in 21. We just saw this very steady um, amount of volume because no matter in or out of season, it's always flowing through the border.
It's got to go through the border. So, how are you being impacted with the rest as compared to the rest of the company? Right? I mean, obviously, the freight market overall is in a bit of a freight recession, right? I mean, we all know this. Does the cross border have some sort of immunity to that to some extent, or is it pretty much go with the rest of the country?
It does, just because there's some nuances of being on the border that I don't think anyone could just show up and then set up shop and then start trying to be a cross border company overnight.
So you're immune a bit to excess capacity, or there's more barriers to entry.
Right. Oh, for sure. Barriers to entry for sure. I mean, we're a CT-PAT certified carrier here in El Paso, and of local companies, I think we're like one of 5 or 6 only, just in this decently sized city of about 1 million people in the county. We're the only one of 5, 1 or 6 of CT-PAT certified. So some others are CT-PAT compliant, but we've been CT-PAT certified now for going on 7 years. And to answer your question about some of the other things, one of the biggest barriers is just, not really knowing how, because you got to have a driver force, you have to have just a workforce in general, and knowing how you have to be entrenched in that, and sometimes even in that culture to really understand how you can best cater to people. So, for instance, and I'll maybe even ask you on the spot, but next Monday, does that mean anything to you?
No, not really.
Exactly, right. Next Monday is September 16th, right? So that is Mexican Independence Day, and
okay, gotcha.
Huge deal. So I mean, we're having factories shut down.
Now 99% of the United States thinks that Cinco de Mayo is the Mexican. Exactly. It has absolutely nothing to do with their independence, exactly. But they think it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did know that Cinco de Mayo was not their Independence Day. I did know that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure what it was.
Exactly. And so, it's just crazy because like something like that, our team has been planning now for 2 to 3 weeks just on, okay, borders going to be closed, which ones will be open and at what times and everything like that. And then that's going to have a significant drop on your freight. And so, I mean, you talk to people that are in, another part of the country, and it's almost hard for them to comprehend, well, why September, like what's so important about that date? Here on the border, it's the biggest day, right?
It's like 4th of July for us, right? I mean, it's
exactly, and massive. People have a day off and whatnot. There's a Mother's for our driver force. There's a Mother's Day in the U.S. and then there's a Dia de los Madres in Mexico. So it's 2 separate days. There's a Mexican Mother's Day, a U.S. Mother's Day. Sometimes our drivers want to be home for both, So you got to play.
Yeah. Sure. Well, I can imagine. I mean, if you're living in both cultures, it makes sense, right? It really does. I can see that. So yeah, I get that. I did a lot of work I've got 36 years in logistics, and I did a lot of work in maritime in the Caribbean and into Caribbean and South America, etc. And I get it. You need people. You just can't say, "Well, I can speak Spanish." Well, so what? You have to have somebody who knows the culture, and I would imagine in many of those areas, you need somebody from that area.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the majority of our staff is completely bilingual, and has either been to Mexico a decent amount or knows enough about them. Because from where I sit right now in this office, I mean, I'm probably looking at, I don't know, I'd say maybe a 5-minute drive to the border. I could be in Mexico from here. So a lot of it is just no one's fault of their own, but it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And
I'm just saying you need somebody who's in that culture, because when I was doing work in in the islands, the people who ran those stations in the islands, they were from there. Because
Right.
if they weren't, you weren't getting the business. You just weren't. You could have the most talented sales rep on the planet from the United States and put them in like St. Kitts or St. Lucia, and you're still not getting the business.
Right.
You're just. And I imagine there's a bit of culture like that in Mexico as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. Obviously, I think you know. A lot of times, Mexico, the counterparts sometimes have their own company set up. Right. There's a U.S. company, a
Yeah.
Mexico company, and then there's also, a lot of the decision makers could either be here on the border, or more times than not, they're in the rest of the states. Right. So,
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
typical corporate traffic and everything, but you still need the sign off of your local people. So it's kind of like, you're always mending and always, organically growing relationships in essentially both countries, right? Um,
Mm.
and that's important. We do that regardless. We see everyone as a corporate company. I mean, our company is a corporate company now with warehouse services. We have employees now, and that be well, essentially could work in three different countries on any given day, right? So
Yeah, right. You've got I mean, your longevity in that market has got to be worth business as far as confidence in getting it done in security, right?
right, right, absolutely.
Yeah, excellent stuff. I got one other question for you. Do you think New Mexico State's going to have a decent year this year? They're 500 right now, bro.
I don't know how you. I'm sure you found me on LinkedIn, right? Is that how you?
Oh, I stalked you, brother. I stalked you.
Good. So quick story on that. I'm really big into sports in general, but I actually used to, in a past life when I was there at that school, used to do the sports columns and sports editor for that newspaper that they have there on campus.
All right. Do you recall one of their greatest nose tackles on the planet, Anthony Smith?
I do, but that was well before I got there. Well before
Okay.
I got there.
All right.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
would.
mean, I worked with him. He was the economist at Freightways. We did Freightways Now together and stuff like
Right,
that.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. No, but yeah, no, I think New Mexico State's gonna have a good year. I know that it's actually that game ended local time at close to over midnight. They should have beat Liberty this past Saturday, and that
That
was
was a
the
close one.
Conference USA championship game rematch, and they were up, but they blew it. But no, they always have good teams, and their funding is maybe a fifth or a sixth of UNM upstate. So
No, we don't like the Lobos.
yeah, I don't.
Well, I mean, it's the whole whatever, however you do that.
Yeah, it's yeah, something like
Whatever
that.
that is. That's kind of I don't understand it. But Fresno State this weekend, bro. What's your prediction?
If I'm not mistaken, Fresno is also the one that they just lost to at the New Mexico Bowl.
Mm.
So unfortunately, I'd probably have to take them, especially it's a
It's
road game.
at Fresno State too.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
since
rough.
it's a road
It's gonna
game.
be,
Yeah. Unfortunately, right? The quarterback
yeah.
does not do good. They have one good year, and they all get shipped off to bigger and better places now in college sports, right?
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, back to business. So Sky Transportation. Why are people coming to Sky Transportation, and how are they coming to you guys, man? Let's plug it. Let's get people shipping with you guys and blow you up to 800 trucks.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to blow up to 800 trucks. I'm not sure sometimes if when there's overgrowth like that, if you ever want to just have 8 or 7 or 6, it's always like the running joke, right? What's the number that could actually support this market?
Well, you got to seat those trucks too. It becomes harder and harder, and that begs the question that I should have asked earlier: is you have this difficulty keeping drivers, right? And turnover has always been a big thing in this industry. Is it so on the cross border, or is that more of a loyalty job?
It's going to depend on so many things, but right off the top of my head, I would say in its traditional over the road capacity, it's pretty close to market. It's pretty close to what you would see in some other sectors of trucking.
Gotcha.
Um, that's not to say that we have turnover percentages that are well below industry standards.
Yeah.
So we're really proud of that fact that we put a big emphasis on that.
That's a culture thing, though. It's not necessarily because of the vertical you're in.
Always been a culture thing. Yeah, since
Yeah.
day one. I mean, literally, there's we have two websites, one just for, customers that might want to inquire, and then one for driver specific. Drive, the number 4 Sky, is where, we have a lot of the information for drivers, and you're going to find on there, right under our history, spent a decent amount of time on that page on our very first driver here at Sky. He held me when I was still, trying to learn to grab onto the trucks and all that stuff when we first knew him. So, he was a fantastic gentleman, and that same kind of I guess heart for I guess our family that he had, and then just that heart for customers. We drill that in a lot here, because you could be the 1,500 trucks and say you have all these things and so on and so forth, but if you're not making an impact on the drivers, it's kind of a mutant point in so many ways. So
right. So your first driver who was teaching you how to climb into a truck is still there.
He's not actually. It says it on our website. He actually unfortunately passed away. This was over 13 years ago now.
Oh boy, I got you.
But he was the first one to ever drive that brand new truck. Took a chance on a guy like my dad, who basically had just started his business, and said, "Hey, I have a nice truck, but can't pay you what you're getting over here, but I guarantee that you will not regret coming over." And sure enough, he did. He was our first driver. His name was Raimundo, or Mundo for as his nickname. And just eventually went from there into an office role for a while too.
Oh, but, fantastic!
Yeah, so he was a great employee of ours, and unfortunately did pass away about 12, 13 years ago now. So
gotcha. So drive 4 number 4 sky.com. That's where drivers need to go, right?
Yes, sir. Yep. That's where it'll find everything on there. Can talk about your, or it will show, down to the routes that you could run and everything. So.
Oh, fantastic. And where are customers going, man, to book into Mexico and out of Mexico?
Yeah. Customers are just going to sky-transportation.com.
There you go.
Yeah. That's a pretty easy one. Sky-transportation.com. And we talk about, anything needed for quotes, or even, we have a small brokerage that we run, or even larger things like warehousing, which we're now in. Like I said, 22 million square feet of warehousing is, all within our company now. And we're kind of cross-trained on selling those things and everything like that. So
cool. And last question, is it true that Aggies in New Mexico are tougher than anywhere in the country? Because it's the only Aggies that I see carrying a gun.
Yeah, so there's always like a really good saying. Probably their biggest rival other than UNM is UTEP, right? And so there's always a saying of UTEP's mascot is Pay Dirt Pete. He has like a little axe or whatever.
Yeah, he's the miners, right?
Yeah, right. And so they say, who brings an axe to a gunfight?
Yeah,
they're that's kind of how the spirit of that university is. It's a great school. Nothing but positive things to say about it. So.
I got it. Go Aggies and drive for Sky, my friend. That's what we're
absolutely.
Right on, brother. Hey, I appreciate it very much, Albert. Everybody, go to drive. If you want to drive, go to drive4sky.com. If you're a customer, you want to ship, you want to do business in cross-border, check out sky-transport.com. Right on. Thanks, everybody, for watching FEI. Until next time, hey, peace and love. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you.